because his brain damage was so bad, his hypoxic brain injury, and 99% chance cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism. Here's phenobarbital, here's Keppra. They wanted us to go home on like 5 or 6 different medications. He went home seizure free. You can have perfect diet, $3,000 a month of supplements, air purifiers, remodel your whole home, get all the mold remediation. You can do lifestyle and environment perfect on the outside, but if the internal nervous system environment is dysregulated, not a single therapy or outside-in intervention is gonna have the same results as it would if we restored and fixed that foundation first. What if you don't have to be on steroids and nebulizers and antibiotics and freaking ADHD medications and psychotropic medications? This is just simply session 1 of many to come.
There we go. This is the UNspecial podcast. I've been waiting and so excited for this episode. I'm in my studio in Tijuana, Mexico. I have studios all over the country and, well, other countries too, I guess. But I'm here with Mr. Dr. Tony Ebel, Mr. PX Doc, neurofocused, subluxation-based chiropractor. And I know many of our listeners have heard all of our success stories, and I have another one for you. And PX Docs, I mean, I can't say enough about the work Dr. Tony's doing with PX Docs and all the certified docs all over the country. Yeah. And Dr. Stanton Hom, our chiropractor in Escondido.
Man.
And so PX Docs started with a Google Doc, turned into a platform, started with one seminar, turned into dozens of sold-out certification programs. And these are stats from August of 25. 5 years old, PX Docs was born. 2020, started with one office. Now there is a worldwide network. Experiencing miracles. I had to rep the shirt.
Dude, a game on.
And then the PX Docs online platform was born. There has been 446,000 docs and parents, husbands, wives using the PX Docs site. 123,989 PX Docs site visits. 119,000, which is, it's already gone up. I know that. I think you just 200,000 downloads of the Experience Miracles podcast, and I had the incredible honor to be on that a couple weeks ago. There's 100,000 plus certified PX Docs, millions reached each month through social media. This one is crazy. PX Doc clubs in 10 plus schools with 60 plus student leaders. So not only are we impacting families, but now we got student leaders just spreading the word and spreading hope, and 800 PX members actively pushing this movement. Thousands of lives changed, miracles going down daily. Dr. Tony, welcome to the UNspecial podcast.
I don't know what to say. I get consistent reports statistically, numerically, from our incredible team that God has surrounded us with through the practice, through PX, and now through PX Docs, as all those things represent. And in the best of ways, none of it makes sense. The only parallel, which is actually just me saying the same thing differently, the only parallel I have is truly this is my job. When I go room to room, so on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm seeing patients and intensive and perfect storm patients in tough cases. And I teach it, and I know the neuroscience, and we help develop the clinical protocols and teach them. So like, if there's anybody who should nod their head and be like, yeah, that is totally what we expected, it probably is me. But I literally get to live this existence where I walk into room to room and parents are like, this is happening. She just said phone. This is happening. She looked at me in the eyes and said, I love you. She slept through the night. We're off the seizure medication. And I look at the parents and I'm like, I'm neuroscience confident guy. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, man. Well, we did that C2 adjustment. Just kidding. I'm literally in my heart and soul, brother. I'm like, you for real? No way. It's almost so unbelievable, which is what makes it so God, so moms, so kids. All of those stats are because, moms and dads, like, we're just going to make it happen for our kids and our families to get this information, then to get this care, and the information leads to the care, and the care leads to the transformation. And then, as you and I both represent now, dude, like, then we just never shut up about it, and away it goes.
Yeah. I was messaging someone last night on Instagram. Same thing. She does a lot of like fascia release and nervous system focused stuff. And I'm like,
Awesome.
whoa, hold up. Have you heard of nervous system chiropractic work? And so now we're talking. I think I'm gonna have her on. But
Love.
talking about those miracles, our newest one in the family, my 7-year-old, 2022, we were exposed to mold. We just a year into our new house in Idaho.
Yeah.
Tons of mold all over the house. She got super sick, ER visits a couple times, and since then has developed some pretty good allergies, like rubbing her eyes to the point where it like she breaks the skin a little bit. And we've tried all the stuff,
Yeah.
In the last 3 weeks, bro, she hasn't itched her eyes.
She's gone.
It's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
And
it was
you
it's
had
so
done all the essential oils, the functional med, the detox. You probably
yep,
tried to restore the gut, rebuild the gut, clear out the gut, right? And it was
diet,
the
all
nervous
of it.
system hanging on.
And
Yeah.
it's so subtle when you start to see all these changes
Yep.
through the work and the care plans and everything. Because it was a few days ago, and I was like, babe, has Naya itched her eyes in a couple of weeks? Have we had to give her any of the kid Benadryl?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know. No, we haven't.
Amazing.
So
It
let's
is
get
subtle. That's what's nuts with the nervous system. The perfect storm. It's got so many layers of things that show up, and then they show up, unfortunately, for a long period of time. And then us as parents, we kind of get, there's no other way to say it. This is what it is. You get used to them.
right.
And so you kind of like, they move from your prefrontal cortex and like your active memory and focus to kind of the back, memory. Remember that movie? Is it Inside Out, about all the emotions, right? And they put they put the memories in the back. So this stuff becomes like, yeah, that's just part of our life now. Moms do this with like their headaches and their migraines and their exhaustion. They're like, oh, that's just normal. And it's like, I love you. No, it's not. And then it's subtle because all of a sudden you're 3 weeks in or you're 3 months in, and it takes a couple of weeks. And you're like, oh yeah, that thing I had is gone. Didn't even quite notice it.
Where did it go?
It's amazing. Oh, I love it.
So good. And so, all right, you have your own practice in Chicago.
Yeah. So far northwest suburbs of. I'm still a country boy, brother. I can't get too close to the city before my nervous system goes into sympathetic dominance. So burbs.
Absolutely. And then you have also the pediatric experience, and that's a platform and training for practices.
Yeah. So that's where we teach them. So the foundation, of course, clearly is the neuroscience, the certainty, the clinical foundations, the protocols. And so some of it's online. Then the next level is getting through the certification, getting the hands-on training, getting certified. And then because we know, the chiropractors have a lot on their plates to help with kids and families, we also help them with other stuff too. We help them learn how to communicate and articulate. We help them how to make content. You can't save anybody that doesn't know you exist, or if they don't know you exist, right? And so we've kind of added those layers to PX over the years too, where those chiropractors can count on us for clinical training, but we're there to support them and mentor and guide them in everything they need, honestly.
Wow. And then you have another podcast, the Family Practice Podcast.
Yeah.
What do you sleep? What's going on?
I'm preparing. So we have our summit. That was what I was telling you right ahead of this. We had a meeting and I was like, I'm ready for my thing. We had this big annual planning summit that we do for PX, for our, almost 1,000 chiropractors, and their teams will be on this, getting ready for 2026. And the team, I married into organization, dude. Like, I'm not the person who I'm fully extra functioning ADHD. Like, I don't turn things in on time. I don't follow deadlines and tasks very well, but I do now. So I turned in my plan for my presentation on Friday is literally, I'm going to show all the members and look behind the curtain. Like, what is my ideal week? What is my productivity system? I'm just ruthless. Like, I'm an old school passion planner, man. I have it on, it's in Google and it's in digital, but I highlight things like when I'm farming, I'm farming. When I'm a dad, I'm a dad. When I'm creating, there's days and shifts. Chiropractors work in shifts versus days. So certain shifts, I'm seeing patients. Certain shifts, I'm teaching chiropractors, and certain shifts, I'm making content. And there's just clean lines of demarcation, and even location where that happens. Yeah, I'm pretty ruthless, but I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. I sleep like a well-adjusted baby, and it's good, man. God is good.
There it is. That's amazing. All right, I'm dying to know. I know you've shared a little bit about your personal journey,
Yeah,
and and so 2020, all this was born. Can you take me back to the beginning? Like when and how did all of this come about?
Yeah, there's layers. You got an incredible book with those chapters and those stories in it. And if this was a book that kind of has these chapters, one creating an experience that opens up a door to a next one, and truly each time, as God would always have it, you open the door to the next season. I did end up, I have closed doors from where I was before. So my journey into chiropractic was super standard. I didn't even say it. Grew up in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. I don't think I said the word my first 18 years. Found it through a school assignment. I wanted to go into healthcare. I love neuroscience. I love helping people. I literally didn't even know chiropractic was an option. I only knew about PT and orthopedics, sports injuries, that sort of stuff. I had real bad shoulder, real bad, just a baseball player my whole life, and farm injuries and all that. So I go to shadow those folks. Couldn't see myself doing it. God bless people who work in hospitals, but can you imagine me in there?
Yeah, running through the halls.
Yeah, and it wasn't like blood and all that. I'm okay with that. It's like not my preference, but it's just the negativity, and the hope stealing is in there. And I guess I was destined to be a hope dealer. So then I find this chiropractor, shadow it, sign up to go to Palmer, do my undergrad degree at Iowa State, pre-chiropractic, biology, genetics, all the nerdy stuff. Go to chiropractic school, and it's what most people would think chiropractic school is about. It's a lot about the spine. It's a lot about musculoskeletal injuries, orthopedic testing, back pain, neck pain, sports injuries. So I was actually set this whole freaking time to be a sports and wellness chiro. Rehab and CrossFit. You and I are the same. We love to work out. So like, I always thought I'd be that, be the wellness guy, the sports guy. And I did all sorts of training on all that. Well, I got married young. I got married. I bought the ring 2 months after meeting Christina and engaged. Yeah. Raging bull. I could, dude. I was like, kind of like the disbelief thing has been a big part of my life. I was like, oh my God, she's still talking to me. She still likes me. I better secure this before I screw this up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I was.
And she, comes from a Croatian Chicago, first generation Croatian immigrants are her parents. That's how we got here to Crystal Lake. They got married at 18 and 17, 4 kids by the age of 23.
Cool.
So we start our family early. This is where the chiropractic thing shifts to pediatrics. And so we ended up, Addison, our oldest, was born 2 weeks before I graduated. And that whole pregnancy, it was happening. But when Addison arrived, this beautiful brown hair, brown eyes, she was not the perfect storm. Pregnancy went great. Delivery was natural, unintervened, incredible. Christina rocked it. And so when I literally, physically, dad to daughter met Addison, the amount I gave a crap about working with athletes went from 100% to 0% in an instant. Dude, I was 2 weeks away from opening my practice, already chose the name, bought the equipment. It had a rehab, basically had a CrossFit gym that was going to go into it. Like, it's all planned, right? Wow. 11th and 7th, 8th hour, you have a baby girl. And a lot of parents, I'm sure, can relate to this, how much your life literally shifts in ways you can't describe. So that carries forward to this. I then sign up. I don't know anything about pediatrics. I'm not the pediatric chiropractic student guru. There was none of our clubs that we have now. There was no training, no nothing. I didn't know my, what for my what. And I sign up to start getting certified. And so every weekend not every weekend, 1 to 2 weekends a year for the first 3 years of being in practice, I went out and I got all this additional pediatric, nervous system, autism. Back then it was called more biomedical, more so than like functional, which is kind of the tag now, right? For functional med and integrative. And I just learned everything. Well, there's more chapters. 3rd year, I'm kind of finally putting it all together. I'm really realizing high stress fertility and pregnancy journeys, and then physical birth intervention, brainstem injury, vagus nerve, subluxation, all the stuff I now teach. I'm learning it in the seminars, yes, but I'm really learning it by taking case histories from moms and dads and just asking them, really actually seeking out the root cause. And conventional medicine told me to look for genetics. It was never there. That just wasn't there.
Which is an amazing point, because nowadays, like, a parent testimonial is not something you ask for.
It's the most scientifically accurate thing you could ever freaking use. Every one of our kids is the neuroscientific story that we need as clinicians to figure out how to get them better. Not randomized clinical trials. They can fly a freaking kite. They're about as randomized clinical trials are about as helpful to me as a practicing clinician as, I don't know, a stethoscope. Which is the most outdated, diagnostic thing ever. Doctors just wear them to look like doctors. They don't actually use them. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go through and I get all this training and I find that it's birth trauma. That's the smoking gun. It's nervous system stress. It's subluxation. And then toxins, antibiotics, mold, vaccinations. So the conventional world was teaching me it was all genetics. My neuroscience brain found out right away, nope, that's not true, not even close. We're not just diagnosing it better. We didn't just miss it. It's not just genetic. You can't change genetics, overnight in one generation or two. They take, so many hundreds, thousands of years. But then in all that biomedical training, dude, everybody just blamed toxins. Nobody over there was talking about subluxation, nervous system, brainstem, vagus nerve, neurospinal. They were talking about the microbiome and the gut-brain connection and cytokines and IgE. Yeah. And vaccinations. But moms and dads and kids in case histories taught me that this birth was a big freaking deal. And then God knew what he was doing to galvanize and add final clarity to my journey, which is very, as parents are listening, really honestly, very sequentially similar to how parents find their information. I was walking that same sequence as a practitioner. It wasn't the first thing I found. And Oliver then was born on Memorial Day, 2009, with a traumatic whiplash to his neck. He was delivered all at once, shot out at one rocket. It sounds like a rocket. Sounds insane to say, but he did not get caught. He landed. My wife delivered on all fours. He's landed on the bed because he shot out in one push, and the midwife wasn't ready. I don't think she thought he was coming in one push, and his head and neck flexed. So I know I'm talking fast and a lot here, but everything I had just learned, I had just put together the Perfect Storm workshop for the first time in 2008 and was teaching it to my community, teaching it to patients. And Oliver became the cover of the book.
Oh,
right?
Man.
And what's crazy, and here's what all comes together in those early years, the most incredible thing that God blessed me with through all this is because I had studied it and then built clinical protocols. I took all these techniques that, you're taught for standard chiropractic, and I don't know the right word even all these years later, adapted, modified, updated almost is kind of the word I love, them to be applied to birth injury and autism and epilepsy and seizures. And so I applied them instantly. I made Oliver's first adjustment while the umbilical cord was still attached. I continued to adjust him and do cranial sacral and SOT and vagus nerve stimulation in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Oh man,
there's pictures of me. My sister, she's incredible. She knew to document some of this. And there's literal pictures of me adjusting Oliver while he's, intubated, and all this. Medicine would save him for sure. He's a medical miracle. He fits. If medicine, if the surgeons, and he had ECMO, heart-lung bypass, if they wanted to do a medical miracle podcast on Oliver, he's a perfect, there's the science. There's the story. Oliver's a perfect one. But when they were done saving his life, they said 20% chance he would live to 1 because his brain damage was so bad, his hypoxic brain injury, and 99% chance cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism. Here's phenobarbital, here's Keppra. They wanted us to go home on 5 or 6 different medications. He went home seizure-free, perfect EEG, perfect MRI, off all medications.
Gosh,
and
serious.
They looked at me. I'll leave it at and it's me, Zach. So I was talking neurology. I'm teaching everybody everything. I'm talking the whole time, and I'm like, you want to learn this stuff about disafferentation and vagus nerve dysfunction and parasympathetic stimulation? I'm here all day, every day. I can teach you this stuff. You clearly don't know it. And every kid here needs it. And so, but they looked at me like I, was an alien, and they explained his MRI improvement, his EEG. There was literal clinical findings, right, that showed that he healed, not just symptomatically, but his brain actually healed. Pre and post imaging, pre and post EEG, and they called it spontaneous recovery.
Spontaneous.
Yeah. I'll never forget the neurologist using those words. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing a smart person has ever said to me in my life.
Well, so
I didn't say that. I wanted to. I was just like, we were so done being out of hospital by that point.
How long were you there?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So, and he's in the NICU.
Yeah.
And so you're doing your thing all the whole time.
The whole time. Adjusted him 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a day. Now, did we make sure his nutrition and his breast milk was perfect and everything else? Yes, but nutrition is not the most direct way to heal a damaged and injured nervous system when it was neurostructurally injured, like birth trauma, birth interventions, and so many other things do. So that certainly supported his healing like none other. But I just know it,
Wow.
the difference maker by a million miles was, he got adjusted. He's literally, because he's addicted to running. I'm in my studio and the gym's over here. He's literally cranking out 6 miles on the treadmill right now. I can hear his VO2 max and his nervous system productivity 16 years later. The last thing you'd ever assume is that he had pulmonary hypertension and a hypoxic brain injury.
That's incredible. So he's 16 now and crushing
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. 4-minute running miles in about this spring. He'll probably run about a 4:40 mile as a 16-year-old.
Oh man.
Just like you and I, dude. Just like you and I.
With a 99% chance of cerebral palsy and spontaneous recovery. It's crazy though. You talk about, so before any of that situation, and I think a lot of listeners can find a lot of hope in this, is God was preparing you for that moment.
Every step.
And it's so hard when you're in the moment to look back and realize those things. And especially, I mean, I'm hearing this right now as I'm in T1 and my wife's getting chemo.
Yep.
All the preparation he's doing for who knows what's in the future, but we can rest in that. Just like he is God, we are not, and he has a plan. We don't understand it, especially in those very difficult situations.
It might be 3 years away. It might be 3 seconds away. It might be 30 steps away, 3 steps away, but you are literally moving towards that reveal, towards that transformation that God has planned. I can tell you, and again, it took me many, many years to kind of like re-understand, holy cow, in a very similar overwhelm of information, emotional dysregulation, confusion, one thing to the next. I was walking the same path as a provider and a parent that my patients do. They find us often last, second to last, third to last, you know what I mean? And they've tried everything else. I can tell everybody listening, those first 3 years, because my wife and I, Christina has been the office manager, the business administration rock star of the practice the whole time. Like, we're hard workers. So by a metric scale, like if you were to go to a chiropractic seminar and say those first 3 years of PwC, our practice, was it successful? Yes, like on stat sheets and everything else. And were you helping a ton of people? My goodness gracious, yes. Even starting this perfect storm work with 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 21-year-olds who parents that we were their last resort. But I was miserable. I was so overwhelmed, dude, because I was trying to do 17 things all at once in my clinic for my patients. And the other part of the story that evolves from this is it was Oliver that the only thing I could really do in that little bassinet, and I couldn't do vision therapy, I couldn't do vestibular therapy, I couldn't do essential oils, I couldn't do biocidin, I wasn't going to rebuild his gut. The only thing I could do for Oliver for those 6 weeks was adjust him. In my clinic at that time, Zach, I had actually built one of the first functional med, functional neuro. I believe at one point we had 14 to 15 different services under one roof. And I would sit down with parents and I would do like a 2-hour, I can't even say this crap out loud anymore because it's so like, how did I not know? But that's how parents feel, right? Like, how do you not know until you find this stuff? I would do like 90-minute, 2-hour report of findings, and I would lay out, hey, I got good news, Zach and Reka. All you got to do for your kids to get better is all 462 things I have on this 25-page playbook for you. You just have to do them perfectly for the next forever, and your kids should be fine. And oh, by the way, fit it into the schedule. And so I was overwhelmed, dude. I was overwhelmed trying to get patients better. And so not only was Oliver the miracle to our family, he has become the miracle clarifier to millions of families because within a matter of 6 to 12 months, I got rid of every other service I did in the practice, the functional med, the primitive reflexes, all that sort of stuff. And I just literally 10x down on the depth and protocols of chiropractic adjustments. And once I cleared out all that other stuff that I was already overwhelmed nervous systems, on the other side of Oliver, we were getting good results. We were like, good healing was happening inside there, but it hit a whole new freaking level once we focused.
Wow. That's amazing. Before we jump into some of the nerdy stuff, what how long have you been married?
Oh, 20 years now. We just celebrated 20 years this summer.
20 years. You got married young. You got
Yep.
4 kids. During those trying years, as a lot of our listeners are newly receiving autism diagnosis or some sort of chronic illness, and they're in the trenches, how did you navigate that with your wife?
So the crazy thing, I did not know. Oof, yeah, this is something for sure. During those initial stages, especially with Oliver, and in the hospital, those were by far the biggest tough spots we ever had. I don't even want to call them arguments, but they were, because we were never anything other than united on, we're going to do everything we can to get our baby boy better. But what happened is the medical system literally strategically would meet with her when I wasn't there. I had to sneak back. I had some amazing chiropractors cover my patients and all that, but I had to be, back taking care of patients at that time. And so there would be times, Zach, they knew when I was there and when I wasn't, and they would schedule. You've been in those hospital rooms where there's no windows, and they put you around a conference table, and it's all the Harvard trained white coat wearing. I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to say other words after this right now, other descriptors and adjectives. And they would literally just try and force Christina to put Oliver on these medications, say yes to these different procedures. And so remember, I'm pretty new to being a pediatric chiropractor. We're super new to being parents. Yes, he's number 2, but Addison was only 18 months old, right? And so they were literally driving a wedge between us intentionally, where they were trying to get her on the medical side, if you will, and leave me kind of on an island, right, with the chiropractic philosophy and all this. And to Christina's credit, that is where she really, as she would say it, put her faith in me, in who God sent her to be married. Like, we have been so strongly connected together in our relationship from the beginning. And that was the antithesis of easy for her, because the default setting was, yeah, we got to do these vaccinations. We got to do this phenobarbital. We got to keep them on this medication. And so through the worst of times, our bond just freaking cemented, man, because it was really what she needed. You think I'm a fierce advocate. Now I'm the loud one out front, cranking the podcast. You know who makes it happen behind the scenes? Relentlessly, Christina. That's the answer. It's a one-word answer to how I get so much done. I don't. She does. And with Oliver. And so many times, and then the practice too, we needed to really fight hard together. And there was a lot of times, like, her going to me, are we sure this is the right path?
There had to have been some doubt because you're so early on.
Even with the practice model, my education cost me $275,000. We're starting our family. We want to buy a house. Like, financially, there's a lot of pressure to just do what all chiropractors do. Why can't you just focus on back pain? Why can't you just bill insurance and add massage and add modalities and add, chiropractors have fallen victim to the health insurance world too, Right. And so again, we just had to literally, the amount of times we've gone on walks, that is our secret. I boil this all the way down to like the thing we do to get through the toughest of seasons. Like, hey babe, put your walking shoes on. Let's just go walk and talk. Like, and they're not always easy and they're not always pretty, but we never come back. Our commitment is to just keep walking until we've figured it out. We walked to Canada one time. No, just kidding.
That's a great hack. We don't go home until we figure this out, because at some point you want to go home.
Yeah, and Zach, it's easier. She came up with this. Now that I'm thinking about this, how have I never realized this? She's run 11 marathons. She's an endurance athlete, and I'm a short little fat guy. So she knows that's actually just a strategy for her to win.
Don't tell her you revealed it with me
Yeah,
on the
totally.
podcast.
Yeah, but no, it's been a huge thing. And the other thing I would say that has been crucial to us in our marriage relationship is what's really cool being a chiropractor and having a family practice. And I've done this with intent and strategy. We have built a community within a community. I had a really great mentor, Dr. Lyle Coach, had taught me, hey, buddy, you want a family practice? Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. When those families get inside your four walls, you tell them the truth. You provide them world-class care, world-class education, empowerment, informed choice, build a community within a community. I'll never forget when Lyle taught me that. And I have taken that with full force. What that has created, Zach, is a lot of parents who are just like us and have already gone through these storms. So I had people, without even knowing it, my patients became guides and mentors to me, right? Wow. I can think of, Nancy Monica. I've interviewed her on the podcast, a seizure advocate, and Beth Sape. These folks just surrounded us in those moments. And so parents, do not get into this community that you're part of right now. Get connected to local patients in the autism community. Like, do this together with other parents who are in the storm, to the other side of the storm, coming out of one, going into one. Do it together.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. And I realized that too with the podcast and the guests of building that community inside the community, because I get so much out of everyone else's stories.
Yeah.
And I thought I was just like holding space to spread some hope. I'm like, I think you're all giving me more hope,
It's
especially with the journey that we've been on. But let's debunk. Let's set the record straight with conventional chiropractic care and
okay.
neurologically focused. Break it down for us.
Okay. I actually kind of think it works well to think of it as three, because there's almost kind of like one, I'd almost say after us, if you're kind of like looking on a blog post, and I have written about this too. Like sometimes I just need to write this stuff out. One of the reasons I love writing articles is not only I can help people, but it helps me just because it's on paper and you can kind of see it with demarcation better. So you have standard spinal, musculoskeletal, structural based chiropractors. BT Dub, they are awesome. Getting adjusted, getting decompression, getting soft tissue work, getting rehab. A lot of chiropractors will build kind of this multi-modality where all chiropractors are trained and certified in PT as well. So people are like, I like chiropractic better than PT. And it's like, well, we do that too. So in this way. And by the way, I freaking love PT. We work hand in hand like none other. So anyways, that's a very standard path that 80 to 90% of chiropractors, our kind, if you will, is fast exploding. So I'm sure 3 years later, my goal is to change these percentages I'm saying right now. Because about, I would say, half of the chiropractors who are stuck in this back pain, spinal rehab model, they actually want to serve kids and families. They just don't yet know that I exist and PX exists. So anyways, that place is a lot better to go than surgery, opioids, marijuana. Truthfully, pain's a big deal. Pain is really costing a lot of people their happiness, their joy, their fulfillment, their lives. A lot of them get addicted. It's that side of chiropractic I actually champion, obviously not as vocally and actively as I do the next one I'll get to with neurologically focused, but I would love to see even standard spinal chiropractic explode in the marketplace because it's just the best option. And there's research to back this up too, than opioids and surgery and everything else. So second is neurologically focused, subluxation based. So those are chiropractors who focus entirely on the nervous system. And what we now know, and there's a lot of nerdy science that explains this further that we can get into, but the neurospinal system is the access point. It's the most potent, the most direct, the most effective way to change central and autonomic nervous system function. We can make certain adjustments that take that sympathetic, overdrive neurological tone that's stuck on a child or a patient and release it. So you can basically get the gas pedal to shut the heck up. And the way you really do that is there's certain neurologically focused adjustments that get in and activate the vagus nerve, stimulate the parasympathetic system. So this kind of chiropractic is all about not structure, not x-rays, not muscles. We use insight scans. We measure nervous system dysfunction so that we can restore nervous system function and regulation. And it is all 100% about that. Does that help colic? Yeah, because colic has neurophysiological dysfunction causing it. Does it help autism? Not in a treatment, not in a cure, not in a randomized clinical trial way, but it heals from the inside out when the nervous system gets better way, and the list goes on. The third kind, and I'll be super brief on this one, is actually functional neurology. Now, that one sounds like and kind of looks like a lot on the old internet and the old Instagram. It can look a lot like neurologically focused chiropractic, but functional neurology chiropractors are what I used to be, where you do 17 things under one roof. So that's primitive reflexes, that's lasers, that's vestibular therapy, that's visual ocular. So you're doing a lot of neurointegrative therapies. They actually tend to not adjust, which is wild because you're like given this like magic key to healing transformation. Then you're like, I'm going to keep that in my pocket. And I'll just use these party tricks over here. Okay, I shouldn't have said it like that. But, I did it myself. And the more I did in this functional world, because I never stopped adjusting. Like I've always been this, like I had great mentors. So the middle has always been my foundation. But I added all this stuff into it because I didn't know any better, right? And what actually happened is first, my results plateaued. When I say results, I'm actually tracking the scans, right? So scans are functional objective changes to the nervous system. Is what I'm doing working? Those are for me first to tell my patients I'm delivering on what I promised you. I actually have objective functional measurements. That also is what separates neurofocused PX docs. We actually tell the truth with objective functional analysis. And then the other thing that we use is parent reports. Hey, what's changing? Is this working for your life, for your goals, for your day-to-day? The more I added with functional neurology, my results started to plateau. So they kind of just like spun in the mud. And then they actually started to get worse. Sleep would get worse. Seizures would get worse. Motor tics would get worse. Sensory issues that parents have been like, we actually kind of had gotten rid of these and now they're back.
It's too much?
Too much. Too much. Now, can you add those things over time? Is there some really cool things in that world that could be like brain-based rehab that could be added on to after neurologically focused chiropractic gets a kid or patient's nervous system stable, regulated, balanced, what we call in the ready state? Yeah, but actually you usually don't need them, right? Because the nervous system is better at healing than a laser or a wobble board. And so, that third layer is kind of exploding out there on Instagram and Facebook and everything else. And I just want parents to know it's different. It's not the same as neurologically focused chiropractic only care.
Why is there so much pushback on chiropractic care? I say that. So I was on a call this morning with a business call, and one of my buddies said, they went and got some blood work done, and a lot of issues came back that they didn't know about. And it boiled down to, they're in their late 20s, already have 4 kids, own a couple businesses. It boiled down to there's a lot of stress.
Yep.
Stress is the driving factor. And then I was like, oh, bro, where do you live? And then I went on this PX doc site. I'm like, all right, you got a PX doc like 20 miles.
Pretty cut and dry, right?
You can go this way or that way. And I started to explain to him, it's trapped on her nervous system. So you need to get adjustments to open the floodgates for the nerves to start firing and do their thing. Yep. And he was like, a chiropractor?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I think there's probably 152 answers that all kind of coalesce into one with why there's such pushback and kind of hesitation to it. One, I would say the biggest one is just unknown. Like people, what they think it is, it isn't. And that's not their fault. That's chiropractic's fault, right? Any profession that has confusion out there, that's not a lot of chiropractors. This really pisses me off, dude. They're like, well, if they just knew better, well, then do a better job of educating and communicating. Like, come on, that's on us. So one, it's probably just lack of full, complete information about the nervous system component. And you could argue with 1 or 2 being worse, or 2, our chiropractic education has been super medicalized, and insurance companies pay for spinal based rehab, back pain, neck pain, personal injury, motor vehicle accidents only. So back to that 80 to 90% number, most people's experience with chiropractic is going to be in this very limited scope. And so if they've now downloaded that into their brain as this is my definition of chiropractic, and now you put pediatrics in there or autism or honestly even just stress, right? Like to you now that what you know, that was a cut and dry, like, dude, of course your adrenals are going to be tanked and everything else, but like get adjusted and away you go. Well, if they've had experience in the other kind of chiropractic, it might be more confusing to them than if they were completely green and had never heard of it. And so that is why we spend a lot of time talking about the different types, not to put one up or one down, just to provide clarity of contrast.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So then if you had 90 seconds to explain the absolute importance of the nervous system, in particular for parents with kids with special needs.
Yeah. Okay.
So this
So
probably, I'm guessing, they're not thinking to go get adjusted.
No, I think I can do this, even though, so now most of us are visual learners, right? So that's where you and I's job having podcasts becomes more difficult than like if I'm at a workshop with a PowerPoint or a whiteboard or in a room with a whiteboard. But this one, I think I can break down simple enough. I'm going to give a first thing and then I'll go into the 90 seconds. Truth is, I never ever go up to parents one-on-one or one-on-many and kind of like give them the lowdown. I am so obsessed with applying neurologically focused chiropractic care to that kid, that mom, that dad's very personalized life. If I have 90 seconds with somebody, I spend 85 seconds asking questions. You know what I mean? And then personalize it. So that's probably my natural state of explaining things is,
all right,
hey,
let's use my daughter as a case study.
Okay. Well, in autism, you were saying for special needs too. Yeah. So here's what it is. Imagine right now that you're looking at a triangle and you do construction, dude. So you're going to get this inside out. This is my favorite analogy in all of our work. Okay. When you build a house, you have to build the foundation first. Okay. Soon as the foundation is in, then electrical, HVAC, right? Then that goes in next. And then you start to layer on the finishing touches. Now, I'm very much simplifying this, right? Totally. The finishing touches of the paint, the floor, and everything else. Speech, communication, behavioral regulation, social emotional awareness, all these things that special needs and autism and anxiety, all these things that our special needs, autism families struggle with that we want fixed yesterday, those are finishing brain-based things. You have to fix and restore the foundation first. And what happens with the perfect storm is the base of neurodevelopment. The very first thing to develop is the central and autonomic nervous system. After that, the next layer is the motor system. So movement, okay? So the nerves and the muscles really work together. This is why motor milestones, holding their head and neck up, tummy time, push up, roll over, sit up, army crawl, regular crawl, furniture cruise, walk. Those are 7 things. I always simplify motor development, neuromotor development to 7 things. If even one of those is thrown off 10%, you can't talk and you don't regulate your brain doesn't develop optimally fully until the basics of the body do. So the foundation of nervous system function is nervous system tone, neuromotor, tone, coordination, symmetry. That's where chiropractic is working. Neuromotor. The gut, the immune system, and the brain, those are all after the foundation. They are dependent upon the foundation. And so it is no different than somebody coming in and trying to do a reno on a house whose foundation. I live in a farmhouse that has been added on to 4 times. When we bought it, I knew, because I know enough to be dangerous in your world. I was like, don't open that wall.
Don't touch it. I don't want to know.
You can build on top of it, supplements, lasers, therapies, or sometimes you can just go to neurologically focused chiropractic care and we freaking go right to the foundation first. That's and fully, and away we go.
So a lot of the parents who aren't seeing results, they're not finding that thing
Yeah.
that's working. They see other stuff working for other parents, but it's not working for their kid. Many times they're not going to the source.
Almost always. The gut's not the root cause. The gut works for the nervous system. The immune system, I'm just about to publish an article here later on this week all about immune system dysregulation starts with nervous system dysregulation. You can have perfect diet, $3,000 a month of supplements, air purifiers, remodel your whole home, get all the mold remediation. You can do lifestyle and environment perfect on the outside, but if the internal nervous system environment is dysregulated, not a single therapy or outside in intervention is going to have the same results as it would if we restored and fixed that foundation first.
Yeah, and that's what really drew me in uh, to all this. It's non-toxic, and you're enabling your body to do the God-given gift of heal itself, which is just mind-blowing. And when you can remove, get it, that base and that structure, that foundation on point, that's amazing. So a lot of our listeners are on the profound side, autism. Where does neurochiro play into that? Because
100% quality of
obviously,
life.
it's hard to get them into the office, or
Yeah, I got you.
what's that look like?
This is our whole do I know why God said, go Tony, go do this? No. I mean, because Oliver, we got him ahead of all this, right? So from the beginning, actually, even in that first and second year, what I did as I wanted to learn more about autism, including profound, severe autism, disabilities, cerebral palsy, epilepsy. I'm just a raging bull, all in. I don't half-ass nothing. I'll just run through a wall
All or
to serve
nothing.
others. Yeah, all or nothing. Yeah. That's why I love watching Oliver. My favorite shirt I saw at a track meet was all gas, no brakes. And I was like, yeah, that's me in every direction. And so, right out of the gates, I volunteered to go serve in my community at a group called Options and Advocacy, which is where early intervention and then all special populations and disabilities are served in this county. And all I did, dude, is just show up. I was just like, what events do you have? I'll show up. I'll set up. How do I serve these families? And I just was drawn in. I don't even know verbally necessarily how to explain all these years later, other than just like I had to. I wanted to. I couldn't wait to just go. I was like, oh, I can see that kiddo sitting there in their wheelchair. They're so distressed. They're so dysregulated. So everybody's just going to avoid them. And, I don't think I consciously thought any of this. I just was doing this. And I was like, I'll just find a way in. Let me go see if I can get calm, get connected, get to know them, get to learn their story. What do you love? What's cool? Because I know their parents know some things. And so anyways, I did a lot of serving that didn't have to do with chiropractic. Just to get to know these families and just to get to know what they were up against and get to meet them and listen to them and sit knee to knee with them and really learn their struggles. And by doing that first, I think I was able to best understand when we would go apply chiropractic in that kid or that young adult's life, what would we expect? What are you looking to really have happen? And no, it's not, we'll make 2 adjustments. You'll get out of your wheelchair, go run a marathon and, say 50 sentences. But you know what? What if you sleep through the night? What if you're not having chronic migraines? What if you're not riddled with anxiety? What if you don't get an ear infection out of every cold? What if you don't have to be on steroids and nebulizers and antibiotics and freaking ADHD medications and psychotropic medications and what if you could actually have a quality of life that would change? What if you didn't have to be in a diaper? I mean, the list goes on, right? Like, what if they could go to and all of that is governed by the nervous system. And so what we started to do is we so it's going to seem like a little bit of a leap sideways, but it wasn't. It all goes into this, and families with profound, severe disability challenged kids will get this. I actually remodeled. Geez, am I supposed to be a contractor too? Just kidding. I'm so bad.
You got some
you just
good
need.
knowledge.
By the way, I can't fix anything, dude. You would think as a farm kid, you're thinking this guy's handy. We could really use him. I am a grunt. I will carry heavy objects from one place to another, but do not hand me a power tool. Do not just don't let me do that.
I'm more with you on that. I'm just good. Yeah. I'm just good at running the business.
There you go. So I actually remodeled. What made me think of that is actually remodeled the whole practice. Christina, this is one of those moments we were talking about before where she's like, what the frick are we doing? And I was like, I don't freaking know. I just have to. We're doing it. So I took out all the rehab, all the scary equipment, right? That a kid would come in and think I'm in a medical office. Cause how many times have these guys been held down to get blood draws or an MRI or whatever. So our practice wasn't a medical office, but I took out all that. I literally took a wall down so it was more open when you come in. We repainted so that the colors were sensory friendly. I hired different staff. I literally started to hire perfect storm and special needs moms so that when the greeting was there and the care was there and the phone call would come in, they knew exactly, there's no scripts in my business,
right?
Or in it's not a business, it's service. It's just people, parents and even our provider. Dr. Matt is my right-hand man of 10 years. His son has agenesis to corpus callosum, was never supposed to walk. Micah's as much of my why, in this way as Matt's why. And so remodel the practice so that when they came in, it would de-stress their nervous system visually, sensory, everything else. We worked with the company CLA to get the technology to be Bluetooth so it wasn't wired. So if I needed to take the HRV out to the minivan because the kiddo wasn't ready to come into the office just yet, I'd just go out there and sit with him. I just go sit for 15 minutes, and just get to know him, and just chill. And then maybe the first time they come in, that's all we did. Just said hi, got to know them. We're cool. You're cool. I'm sarcastic. I'm a, bald guy with a beard. I love you. Why don't you come back in a couple of days and, just to get to know you. And so we go real slow when we need to, and we're just real open on it. And so that's how and now I've taught all this to PX docs.
Okay. So now, most of the offices.
Yeah.
I know
they might be in a
like
different, they might be in a different phase of building in this direction, right? But when I was saying earlier, we help them with everything. I do. I'm like, hey, what's your front office look like? Who's taking the phone call? Are they? And so everything is ready. Not just, I don't say just, that's not the right word. Not for kids only with manageable ADHD or sensory or chronic sickness, like a PX office when it's fully a perfect storm center, like Stan's and like mine. And now we have hundreds and soon we'll have thousands. We're not there yet, but we'll have thousands. It's literally designed for profound, severe, disabled kiddos to come in, and then we're going to rock their freaking world. We're going to transform and change their lives in ways that the rest of the world wouldn't understand, but we sure as heck do.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking with a friend who saw our podcast on the Experience Miracle podcast. And she was asking me more questions. And she's like, how does this play into like a profound family son? I was like, well, most simple way I could put it is the doc will meet the kid where he's at.
Yep.
If he doesn't want it, Stan's done it with my kids, first handful of visits, they don't want to get on the table. They don't want to do anything.
It's not just,
4-year-old still won't get scanned, but they're like, whenever she's ready.
Yep.
And that's
the coolest thing about having your intervention be your hands. They go everywhere with you.
Right.
It's freaking magic. I've done as many, I really prefer minivans to SUVs because they got those 2 side doors, you can just easier for me, my little husky butt to get in there and get after it. Yeah.
That's funny. All right. We'll round it home here. 2 more questions. So once care has begun, and I think I saw some of Dr. Matt's stuff on this, there is a little bit of a side effects.
It can be.
It gets a little squirrely for a little while.
Depends on the case. So what happens is, I'll give it in 3 parts. So number 1 change we want to see in the beginning is change. Like we just don't want stuckness. We don't want everything to stay the same because then the nervous system's not changing. And so if it's going forward, that's obviously what we want. But there's so many things that the nervous system controls. You might have 7 things getting better, but 1 thing kind of hit a little bit of skid. So I'll get to that. Second, we track functional changes like crazy, right? So the scans. Now healing neurologically is going to happen from the inside out. It's going to happen beneath the surface at a larger level. And symptoms are not beneath the surface. They're the expressions of the dysfunction beneath the surface. So symptoms are typically the last thing to change.
Right.
And so the insight scans and the assessments we do on the table, the Atlas Fawcett temperatures, the stuff you're used to seeing Dr. Stan do, those are essential for us to know and then communicate and then explain and then show to parents like, hey, you might not be seeing too much on the outside yet, or you might even be seeing some funky things. And again, I'll get to that. But these scans are moving in the right direction. And that means we're doing exactly what we need to do. And then the third common thing we track is neuro soft signs: sleeping, breathing, posture, movement, digestion, immune function. So while the behavior might kind of spark up a little bit, while certain neuro-emotional things might just kind of have their boat rocked for those first 2 to 3 weeks, what's really cool, and I didn't even know this was happening in the beginning. It took me a long time to realize that this is happening right before my eyes. I just didn't know to look for it, to communicate it. They're sleeping better, they're breathing better, they're moving better. Got a little girl right now here from the UK, and everything and then some for this beautiful little girl. Her mom's coming on the podcast, and it's going to be so cool. Everything with her is just doing amazing. She is now, though, a very punchy, very defiant, very strong-willed little girl who did none of that until about last week because her brain hadn't got there yet. Right. She's just normally going through development now as a 4-year-old that, quote unquote, I hate the word should, it never applies, but just for this a little bit, technically she should have probably given her mom some of this grief at age 2, the old terrible 2s and terrible 3s.
Right.
It's the best news neurologically ever. And I deliver it, Zach, with pure unfiltered sarcasm. And I'm like, yeah. That's why we put you in a hotel. Now, just like it's a terrible joke. Christina's gonna be she's like, you don't say that, do you? And I was like, every time. Yeah. But like it's and when you explain the neurology to parents, they're like, okay, so this is actually good. I'm like, heck yes. Yeah. Heck yes. And so the final answer there, brother, real quick, is knowing that sometimes there is this uptick of these things. What we've also done over the last 3 years is we've updated our clinical protocols. So now the intensive schedules and the way we adjust, we've actually pretty much wiped out all of what we would call these neuro detoxes. And unless they're truly necessary, like if that's how the brain has to heal, like the case I just gave you an example for, those are to be celebrated, not avoided. But there was some stuff with like seizures and motor tics and pandas where the training I'd received from other docs was like, oh, these are going to get worse before they get better. You just healing crisis, detox, you just got to go with it. Well, back to me and my stubborn brain who always wants to like, maybe there's another way. Right. About 3 years ago, Matt and I we spent hours back in what we call our lab of the office with the whiteboard and scans. And we found 2 changes. We adjust twice a day, sometimes 3. And then we just change our adjusting protocols. And now we teach this to PX docs. And it took the amount that we experienced these detoxes way down. Wow. Yeah, it's way better than, and that's just, that's our promise to parents here today. And then 3 years from now, like if we're not better next week than we are this week, well, that's not how it should be,
Right. Keep moving forward. Moving forward. So much hope, which is the overwhelming theme of this, and what all parents need to know, that there is hope, and hope is not lost. What final thoughts? What message would you have for families that feel defeated, like all hope is lost?
There's a lot of quotes here. I've got our mission statement over here, empowering families to restore hope. That's the first line of it. Right below that is one of my wife's favorite ones. A ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships were made for, and then truthfully, there's so many different scriptures. I'm good with remembering nervous system stuff. I'm terrible with actually remembering the book and the verse. I'm a contextual person, right? Versus the factual one. But what I would say is, and I do my best to say this to every single parent all the time, is I know exactly why you are your beautiful child's parent, because you are built for this. And the journey will chip away and put dents and try and chop you down at the knees and put holes in the foundation. And so guess who gets poured into here too? TOOU. Guess who gets adjusted here too? You.
Yes.
Guess who we have workshops and articles and podcasts and UNspecial podcast connections and resources for too. So what we have become, always been, just really trying to get even better at it these days, just obsessed with, is serving directly, completely, entirely the entire family with hope, with empowerment, with education, with resources, with community, and get the frick on the table.
There we go.
Guys, I get it. I mean, I've done it 1,000 times with my kids, and I'll probably do it again. Like, oh, we're going to prioritize. We're going to do this as a family, but the kids only, we're going to, we all know that, right? That's our default setting. Don't do that with chiropractic care. You want to really see profound improvements in your kids' results. Get the whole family signed up for care like you guys did with your family. I promise you, Zach, that your kids are healing at this pretty hard to believe in the best of ways clip, because you guys are too.
Yeah.
Because you're getting adjusted too. And so healing happens in a family unit. Healing happens best together versus one at a time.
And the kids love it. Like they love going there, especially my 1-year-old. He tries to get on the table himself. like they just know it's coming. They're like, oh, relief. Take the stress away.
It's true. I have another special podcast planned for Christmas. Did you hear actually, was it just a pre-roll or something? We had my 2 little ones, Amelia and Elena. They're sorry. You can probably imagine the Ebel kids are pretty well trained in farming, neuroscience, and sarcasm.
Are they coming on?
They're on. So they did some pre-rolls. They roasted me on our anniversary edition. And so they're coming on, and we're going to do a little interview. And I am deathly afraid of what they're going to say, and also so stoked because the way they're going to say it is so much more simple and straightforward.
That's so good.
I probably complicate it all the time with my answers, where your kids and my kids would just be like, yeah, it's awesome. We feel better. We can handle life better. What else do you want me to say?
Yeah, right. Oh, so good. Wow, that was amazing. Never lose hope. Hope is there. Feed into it. Yeah. And deal it out, essentially. Where, I mean, you're kind of hard to miss, but where can everyone find you?
We really are rocking and rolling on Instagram and Facebook. Those are some 2 great resources, and we crank out content there. So if you're just looking for kind of like the short, let me just start to get to know this content, shorter snippets, easier kind of digestible stuff, Facebook and Instagram. But if you want to go all in, if you love to read, you think I love to talk? You should see me type.
Well, those articles are money.
They are.
So how do you sign up for them? I don't remember.
So pxtalks.com, and then there's a newsletter tab, I think, on the right or something like that. You can get them there, and we release, I think, almost an article a day. And then our email newsletter comes out on Fridays, and is so good. And then the podcast, and then the Experience Miracles podcast. So that has depth. The articles and the podcast have more depth to them. And then the social media is a little bit more, kind of the quick hitter stuff. So all good stuff. And however you love to learn and want to learn, parents, we build it for you. We're here for you. I can tell you this in closing: God's got this. You've got this. And we've got this with you. This community that Zach has built, the community we're building, to me, now the UNspecial podcast and the Experience Miracles podcast community are now one and the same to me. We're homies and then some. Same. I mean, we got you. We're going nowhere.
The shirts.
No, we did. No, I didn't even know you got one, but I forgot we sent them out. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So rad.
Oh, that's so good. Yep, we got this. You got this.
We got this.
There it is. Dr. Tony Ebel on Special Podcast. Thank you, sir.
Love you, brother. Thank you, everybody.